Welcome back, everybody. It's great to see you back online with us. Of course, Cape Rugby TV, we keep talking about what's happening in the world of club rugby. Now, you know, of course, in 2020, there was a tremendous influx towards digital, and Western Province Rugby was one of the first federations to really embrace this and get the clubs online. And 2020, obviously a very successful year in terms of education across the various departments, the various structures, and 2021, though, coming out of the starting blocks just as quickly. But to tell us more about what's happening at Western Province Rugby, we've got Faizel Felton on the line. Faizel, nice to have you back.
Good evening, JP. Good evening, listeners. It's great to be back. Hopefully back in full swing very shortly. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Faizel, before we get started, obviously we want to talk to you a little bit about the digital and education and the coaching courses. We've been hearing about phases, phase 1 and phase 2, how things going with these phases, and maybe if you can give us a quick explanation of what is phases.
No, definitely. I think from our side, we're quite excited. I think we've got the go-ahead now to move towards phase 2, which means basically we've moved from conditioning in terms of conditioning training. We've now moved towards contact training and that. So from a club perspective, we're slowly making progress. Hopefully soon we'll be up and running to start playing friendlies and that. But like we said earlier on, you know, it's a phased approach. We're managing, we're trying to contain the virus. We're trying to ensure from a safety perspective, it's player wellness. So the good thing is that we've had the go-ahead now to move to phase 2, which is quite exciting.
So we've spoken to some of the clubs, and they've been pretty much echoing what you said. Is that a lot of them have started returning to training, either in a phase 1 or phase 2, and in some cases the odd club saying they're still getting there. But across the board, there seems to be a real excitement from the players. They are, or at least the coaches we speak to, the clubs we speak to, they're all excited. They're able to put their boots on. They're able to see each other at training again. I mean, this is tremendously positive for Western Province Rugby.
No, definitely, JP. I think, as I said earlier on, the mere fact of being able to get out onto the field, be able to get out there running, be able to get out there socializing, I think that's a key element in that. And I think that's what it's about. It's about, communities and players and everybody coming together. And I think we've already achieved that, as we said earlier on. And hopefully soon we'll be able to play. And I think from our side, we must commend the clubs in terms of, the protocols and following of the protocols and that there. So it's been very positive. And I think from a club perspective, people understand the seriousness in terms of what's happening in the virus and stuff. But we've got all the necessary protocols. And I think we're quite confident, that, slowly but surely we can, progress in terms of starting to play in that. So, yeah.
Faizel, but if we look at the club structures, I mean, rugby itself, your club structures, you guys are so used to meetings, to work according to plans. Coaches have to work on strategies. The game of rugby itself has evolved so much over the last 20 years. Western Province Rugby has been at the forefront of that. We've seen clubs get better and better and better. All the planning, all the discussions, all the meetings, all the administration. This must have helped to deal with the COVID scenario.
No, definitely, JP. I think in terms of planning and that, as you mentioned, I think we're used to it. And I think that's one thing, we're planning towards returning to play. And I think in terms of getting there and having the role players, the clubs and everybody involved and understanding as to how we fit in, where we're fitting. And in terms of some of the challenges, I think we've gone in depth, looking at a number of scenarios in terms of, if a season takes place, if it doesn't take place, if, we have a competition, how it's going to pan out. And also in terms of the virus and looking at the current situation, looking at COVID, I think we've looked at everything. And I must, like I say, commend the clubs again in terms of the input that we've received, in terms of the discussions that we've had. I think with COVID and that, has taught us a lot. We haven't taken anything for granted. I think we've looked at every possible sort of scenario solution and that there. And the one thing is, as we said earlier on with the online, workshops and stuff that we've had, it's afforded us the opportunity to engage a lot more frequently. When you're working with clubs, and working people, the biggest challenge is always having to have meetings and how often you have these meetings. And with the online platforms that we've now have access to, we're able to have regular meetings and regular discussions. So that's definitely a positive. It's helped us plan a lot better. in terms of regular communications with clubs and the the stakeholders in that. So that's the great thing.
And you've been able to also reach so many more people. I mean, one of your success stories of late, which I know you're still working on, you're still building, has been to have a women's rugby development officer at every club, or a women's rugby champion. And your first meetings already seeing 25, 30 participants. I mean, that is something that the digital age is also helping for you to be able to reach more people. Because I mean, if I just pause there, normally if we go back a few years, you would have a person in a physical meeting behind a chair, and there's only limited amount of chairs and space available. Now you're able to go much bigger.
No, definitely. As you said, one of the biggest restrictions of meetings is, the capacity in terms of the amount of people we can have in the boardroom or, the function area. And I think with the digital platform, we're able to reach out to a lot more people. And I think the one thing with, with having, the ladies and having women's rugby and that there is that, we're reaching out not just from a playing perspective, we're also reaching out for, for the champion at the club. And I think the whole, the idea that we're looking at now again is, looking at somebody within the club that's driving it. And I think the key thing here is with, our digital platforms, we're able to have regular meetings, as far as women's workshops. So the focus, we have our normal workshops, but with the ladies, we're able to focus specifically in terms of what their needs are. So that's a great thing.
So let's talk about some of the courses quickly that you did last week. You did a course with Rito Klungwane. Of course, DHL Stormers forwards coach, comes from the ranks of Western Province Rugby. He's played for Western Province. He's coached at a number of clubs in Western Province. Now he's behind the scenes. That was a great workshop. The club's opportunity to see behind the scenes video footage that is exclusive, and you ordinarily wouldn't be seeing that, or you ordinarily wouldn't be on the side of the field. And now you're getting that first-hand exposure. That must be, well, that's very exciting.
No, definitely, JP. Again, having, the guys, especially Rito, and I think, thank you to Jerome as well, to providing us that access. I think we're able to reach out to a lot more people, number one. But secondly, also from a time management, we're able to get all of these, your senior coaches and stuff and senior guys on board because of, again, having these platforms, which from a time perspective, it's easy to manage. The guys are able to do it at home. They're able to discuss. And I think the key thing here is having the information and having the clubs have access to this information. I mean, the feedback has been great. And I think that is what's kept us going. And I think that's what's keeping us going now is that tonight we have another workshop. And the attendance is, again, it's phenomenal, the amount of people that actually are craving and wanting, to be involved and to have discussions and that. So it's definitely something that will stick for us for a while.
Folks, we seem to just have lost Faizel there, the digital gremlins kicking in there. But nevertheless, fantastic to see what Western Province Rugby is up to. A lot of education. Of course, tonight, the club leadership workshop in play for Western Province Rugby. And that's great. And we'll be giving you feedback on that next week. Folks, that's a wrap from us here then this evening. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. We remind you, of course, stay safe out there. Practice all of the health and safety protocols. And remember, wash your hands. Wear a mask. All right? You can wear a mask, cover your nose, and cover your mouth. And wash your hands as regularly as possible. And as we say, practice social distancing. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.